Quick flicks presenting As Far As My Feet Will Carry Me. Set during the year 1945, the story begins in a prisoner camp in Siberia, where we see several prisoners. These are all German soldiers who were brought here after World War II. The prisoners are forced to work in the harsh and freezing conditions of Siberia. Among the prisoners is a soldier named Clemens, who is facing a 25-year sentence. This means he has to work here for 25 years. But Clemens has only one dream: to escape from here and return to his wife and daughter. Siberia is surrounded by snow and freezing cold, and escaping from here is almost equivalent to death. If anyone tries to escape, the snow and hunger end their life. However, Clemens doesn't care about any of this. He has only one goal: to get out of here. One night, Clemens gets an opportunity and tries to escape by hiding in a cold train. Sitting in the train, he looks at the starry sky and feels happy, but suddenly the train stops. Clemens tries to look outside and is spotted by a Soviet officer. He is then taken back to the camp and locked in a small underground cell for 3 days. It's raining above. It's freezing cold, and he's given nothing to eat. Clemens endures all this punishment. After 3 days, the warden releases him and informs him that his fellow prisoners are waiting for him. Clemens goes to his fellow prisoners, but they are furious with him. They blame Clemens for the fact that they hadn't received any food for the past 3 days. They vent their anger on him and beat him badly, leaving Clemens severely injured. A doctor, who is also a prisoner, treats Clemens. Clemens tells him, "I don't want to die here. I want to go back to my wife and daughter in Germany." The doctor explains to him, "Escaping from here is almost impossible. Even if you escape, you will die in Siberia's freezing cold. But the truth is, if you don't escape, you will still die." The doctor reveals that the Soviets forced them to mine lead, exposing them to poisonous gases that cause deadly diseases. The doctor himself is suffering from this disease. He advises Clemens to escape and gives him his warm clothes, a map of the railway routes, and a pistol. The doctor mentions that food has been hidden at certain points along the railway line, which will help Clemens. The doctor once wanted to escape himself, but since he's now close to death, escaping doesn't make sense for him anymore. So he gives all the supplies he had prepared for himself to Clemens. That night, during a snowstorm, Clemens escapes once again. The next morning, the warden learns about this and goes to the doctor, only to find that the doctor has committed suicide. The warden is enraged that Clemens has escaped again. He sends his soldiers to capture him, but no one finds any trace of him. Everyone believes he must have died, as no one can survive in such cold. Meanwhile, Clemens is shown enduring the icy winds and slowly moving forward. It has been 9 days since he started walking through the snow. Suddenly he hears dogs barking. He looks back and sees a sled coming toward him. He collapses and the sled passes over him. Suddenly, he wakes up and realizes it was just a dream. Clemens is terrified by this nightmare. Days of walking have left him exhausted, and he has run out of food. Hungry and thirsty, he collapses and faints. A while later, he regains consciousness and hears a sound. He sees a seal in front of him, which could be his food. He pulls out his gun and fires at the seal, but the bullet misses. The seal starts to run away, and Clemens chases it. The seal hides behind an ice rock. Before it disappears, Clemens aims carefully and fires his last bullet, hitting the seal. The seal dies, meaning Clemens now has food. After eating his fill for the first time in days, Clemens rests for a while and sets out on his journey again, with a compass to guide him and talking to himself to maintain his sanity. Clemens continues his path forward. For 2 months, Clemens had been walking continuously. One day, he saw a dried-up tree in front of him. Seeing the tree filled him with joy, because it was a sign of new hope. After 2 months, he finally saw something that indicated he was out of the Arctic's icy terrain. Meanwhile, the warden is shown still determined to find Clemens. He tells his soldier, "Search for him within a 500-kilometer radius and bring him back at any cost. I am certain he is still alive." On the other hand, Clemens is shown reaching a forest, although all the trees there are completely dried up. Suddenly, a snowstorm strikes, causing trees to fall. One of the trees falls on Clemens. Fortunately, 2 people searching for gold were nearby. They rescue Clemens and save his life. The 3 of them then try to move forward. The weather had completely changed. The snow had melted and the rivers were flowing normally again. Together, they build a wooden raft and use it to navigate the river. But suddenly, the river current becomes very strong and one of their companions falls into the water. Without regard for his own safety, Clemens jumps into the river to save him. After much difficulty, he brings his companion to the riverbank. However, their 3rd companion takes the raft and proceeds alone. A while later, the 3rd man reaches a spot where he had previously stayed with his companions. He also has small pieces of gold that he had been searching for in the snowy wilderness. Greed takes over and he thinks, my companion must be dead by now. This gold is all mine. But shortly after, the rescued companion and Clemens arrive there. The man whose life Clemens saved realizes the betrayal of their third companion, who had deliberately taken the raft and left them behind. In anger, he kills the treacherous companion. After this, Clemens and the other man leave together. Leaving that place was not easy. They kept walking and had now spent many months there. Once again, they encounter snow and continue to walk through it. The man with Clemens, carrying a lot of gold, says, give me your bag for a while. You are too tired. Clemens suspects he wants to steal the gold. As a result, the man attacks Clemens with the bag, causing him to fall down a slope. Clemens loses consciousness. Later, the sound of wolves wakes him up. He sees a pack of wolves approaching him as their prey. To save his life, he climbs a tree, but one wolf grabs his leg. The tree is thin, causing it to break. Before the wolves could attack him, gunshots echo through the air. A group of local villagers kills all the wolves, saving Clemens. They take him to their village. When Clemens regains consciousness, he finds himself in a village. He feels a surge of happiness. Soon, a message from Soviet soldiers arrives, warning the villagers that a German soldier has escaped from their camp. It states that anyone sheltering him will be executed. Upon hearing this, the villagers tell Clemens, you must leave this place. Your life is in danger here. They provide him with plenty of food for the journey and a dog to accompany him as a companion. Now, Clemens continues his journey on foot with his dog for an entire year. One day, he reaches a place where there are many mill workers. Clemens' dog wanders toward them. Clemens goes to retrieve his dog, but the mill workers recognize him as a German. They take him to their boss. Clemens narrates his entire story to them, evoking sympathy in their hearts. As a result, they arrange for Clemens to board a train that could take him out of the region. Clemens feels elated, thinking he will soon reunite with his family in West Germany. However, during the journey, the train stops at a station where Clemens notices many Soviet soldiers. He realizes that the mill owner and workers have betrayed him. They had informed the warden about the train beforehand, and the warden is waiting for him at the station. Before reaching the warden, Clemens jumps off the train with his dog and runs away. The Soviet soldiers give chase. Soon, Clemens encounters the warden, who attempts to capture him. But before the warden can act, Clemens' dog attacks him, giving Clemens the opportunity to escape. Clemens starts running again. Suddenly, he hears gunshots and realizes that his dog has been killed. Filled with sorrow, Clemens cannot afford to stop and keeps running. The Soviet soldiers continue to pursue him. Clemens reaches a bridge under which a train is passing. He leaps onto the train, escaping the soldiers once again. For several months, Clemens travels by various means. He grows extremely hungry and arrives at a fair where delicious food is being sold, but he has no money. He notices two girls selling pancakes but cannot buy any. Disheartened, he starts to leave. Seeing this, one of the girls feels pity for him. She hands a piece of pancake to a child and says, give this to that man. Clemens feels immense gratitude as he eats the pancake. By now, he has reached Central Asia. There, a Polish Jewish man notices him and becomes suspicious. The man begins to follow Clemens. Clemens enters a mosque and offers a prayer. A Jewish man approaches him and says, I was also a prisoner once. Don't worry, I will help you. The man takes Clemens to his home, where Clemens shaves for the first time in years. For the first time in many years, he sees his real self. The Jewish man makes a passport for him and says, you can now return to your home. Clemens becomes deeply emotional. He reaches the Iranian border, shows his passport, and is granted permission to cross. Clemens feels overjoyed at the thought of reuniting with his family. As he crosses the bridge, a bright light shines in his eyes. The next moment, he sees the warden standing in front of him. Turning back, Clemens realizes he's still on Soviet soil, meaning the warden can arrest him. Clemens feels utterly devastated, as his 7 years of effort seem to have gone in vain. 7 years ago, he escaped from a Soviet prison, and now, after all this time, just as he was about to return home, the warden catches him. But then, the warden steps aside. Clemens is in disbelief. Slowly, he starts walking forward, and the warden does not stop him. In truth, the warden is deeply moved by Clemens' determination to survive and return home. That's why he doesn't arrest him. This moment is a victory for the warden too, because 7 years earlier, he had vowed to capture Clemens at any cost. Today, he fulfilled that vow by catching him, but chose to let him go. In this way, both Clemens and the warden win. Clemens eventually reaches West Germany, where his home is. It's Christmas Day. He sees his wife and daughter leaving for church and follows them. At the church, his daughter notices him. She recognizes her father and runs to embrace him. This is how Clemens finally reunites with his family after many years. With this, the story comes to an end. We hope you enjoyed it.